review.
There we go.
At the top, I added some extra directions because in math class, I like for you to write everything in standard form. Remember, we talked about this. So we are going to go back and forth between the place value chart and the review.
Do we need ours?
You're going to need your place value chart, so go ahead and get it ready to go. And I want you to stick with me. We'll probably have about 10 minutes at the end of class to work on Zern so we can get all caught up. So if it's in standard form, you don't have to do anything except maybe add digits on the end of a number. So look at the first one. What do I need to do on that one? I don't even know what your names are today because you're all sitting in different places, or some of you are.
Put a 0.
Put zeros on the end of
The 3.
the 3.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so now I have 300 thousandths or 136 thousandths
300,000.
is larger. Okay, the next one I've got to write on the place value chart. Now, I want you to notice that they're trying to trick you right here. I don't agree with that.
No, how?
Why would they write thousands first? So that you would get it wrong, correct?
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to happen. So we'll put a 3 in the thousandths place. And what number goes in the hundredths place?
4.
A 4. And then fill in with,
0.
okay. So now we'll write 43 thousandths on the paper. Is this really going to do this to me every time?
What?
So this is 43 thousandths. And what goes in the circle?
Equal.
Equal. Okay, the next one. 4 tens, 3 tenths, and 2 thousandths. So go to your place value chart.
Thousands.
4 tens. What else?
3 tenths.
3 tenths
2,000.
and 2 thousandths. What do I fill in with?
0.
Okay, what is that number?
40 and 300,000.
Great. 40 and 302 thousandths.
The other one would be 40 and 320,000.
Okay, so 302 or 320?
2. 320.
Which one's larger?
320.
320. Now, Thomas, you got a little bit ahead because you said 320, but we hadn't actually added the 0 yet. Okay? All right, let's put 24 tenths on the place value chart. Where do I write the 4?
In the tenths.
In the tenths. So there's 24 tenths. Daniel, you need to stop. 24 tenths
Or
would be 2 and 4 tenths. Which one's larger?
25.
25.
20?
2 and 5 tenths or 25 tenths, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this one looks super confusing. It's not.
What?
Okay, let's take a look at the place value chart.
Just write it.
Shh. So let's look at the first one. 3 times 10 to the 3rd power.
Thousands.
Thousands place. So what digit will I put in the thousands place? 3. And then the next set of parentheses, 4 times 100. 4 in the hundreds place. And the next one is 2 times 1 tenth.
In the tenth.
In the tenths. Okay, now I fill in with zeros, correct?
Yes.
So that's 3,402 tenths. So write that on there. And of course my paper keeps going back. 3,402 tenths. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. It says 3 times 1,000.
3,000.
Did you write it? And 4 times 10 to the 2nd power.
400.
because 10 to the second power is 100. And then we've got 2 times 1/10 again.
Equals 2.2 tenths.
So what do we have?
Equal.
They're equal. So this isn't as hard as it looks when you first glance at it. You just have to use the strategies that are available. Okay, same thing on here, right? So I'll put a 5 in what place value?
Tenths.
Tenths. So put a 5 in the tenths and a 6 in the,
Hundred.
you sure?
No, thousands.
Okay. So that number is what, boys and girls?
906,000.
506 thousandths. Now how is that different than the one across from it?
Because the zeros at the end. Then
Okay. So hold the markers still. How do I say this second number here? Just say it.
560,000.
What? 560 thousandths. Is 6 or 60 larger?
60.
Okay. You can put your place value chart to the side for a while.
We didn't write on the other one.
Oh, I didn't. We talked about it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at 2. Okay, it says model the number 7 and 77/100ths on the place value chart. So where do I write the first 7?
And the ones.
Okay, and then,
Tenths and the hundred.
so there's 7 and 77/100ths. Now look at A. A says to multiply it by 10 to the third. So right now, I'm going to write 7 and 77/100ths times what, Anna? What is 10 to the third? 1,000.
I thought we were going to do that on a chart.
We are in a minute.
Oh.
Okay, so now that I have 7 and 77/100ths times 1,000, I'll use the decimal hop. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so which way will my decimal hop?
To the right.
To the right. How many places?
3.
3. So that means I've got to fill in with
A 0.
a 0. So it's 7770. What number is that?
7,770.
7,770. Now here's what it says to do next. Explain. But it doesn't say explain the decimal hop. It says explain the shift of the digits. So let's do that. Let's show what really happens on the place value chart when you multiply by 1,000. So go ahead and write that on the place value chart, and then we'll talk about how to explain that. Is that how we did it on day 1? It is. And that's been about 5 weeks.
5 weeks?
5 weeks. It's gone by fast, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is actually happening when I multiply or divide by powers of 10? Morgan?
Your digits are moving?
Your digits are moving across the place value chart. That's all we need to say. Now, could we get more specific, Mario? Could we get more specific and say, well, when I multiply, the digits are moving to the left, and when I divide, the digits are moving to the right? We could, but let's just keep it a general statement. So here's what I'm going to write. When you multiply or divide by powers of 10, comma, and what did Morgan say we're doing?
The numbers.
The digits,
Is it a comma or a period?
it's a comma. When you multiply or divide by powers of 10, the digits move across the what? Place value chart. Now I want to go back and underline some important words that we might need.
Multiply.
Multiply.
Divide.
Divide.
Value. 10.
You're close. Let's just say powers of 10. Digits.
Across.
And how about this? Yeah. Okay, now here's what I want you to do. Write study this and draw an arrow to that sentence. That's one thing you should probably study. You know how you memorize things?
Yeah.
Maybe at church or something?
Yeah,
Well, you can memorize that. Now, someone in block 3 said, well, maybe I'll just write it down a bunch of times so I don't forget. And I said, yeah, true. Or you could say to your mom or someone at home, see if I'm saying this correctly. Do you know how to study a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Multiply power.
Okay, so let's not repeat it right now in class because we're going to move on. I don't want my video to be too long. Okay? So now it says, and this is a kind of a trick. Divide the product from A. What's the product of A? Good. It's the answer to a multiplication product. Divide the product by 10 to the second. So 7,770 divided by what? 100. Now I guess we'll use a decimal hop. So where's the decimal on that number to start with? At the end. And how many place values will I move the decimal? 2. So it ends up between the second and third 7, right?
Yeah.
How do I say that number?
77.
Good, 77 and 7/10. Now I'm pretty sure on the test this isn't 10 to the third. I think it's 10 to the fourth. So in your mind you're going to need to know, okay, 10 to the fourth is what number? 10,000. Okay. Let's take a look at the next page. So this page, I took 4 questions off of this page. Well, 4 things that you need to do. So on number 3, it says rainfall collected in a rain gauge was found to be 3 2/10 centimeters when rounded to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. A says convert 3.2 centimeters to meters. Might want to highlight those or put a box around it with your pencil, okay? Now, we had a little chart we used that was centimeters to meters. And then beside it, we wrote what we do when we convert from centimeters to meters. Now, the hint says I'm going to use the number 100 because it's right there in your hint. Which I don't even know why I have that hint because I think you already knew centimeters to meters was 100. But do I multiply or divide? That's the question. Are my numbers getting larger or smaller when I go from centimeters to meters? My numbers are getting larger or is the numbers are getting smaller? The unit is getting larger. So when my numbers are getting smaller, what do I do? Divide. So that tells you what to do. Did you write that?
Yes.
Okay, so now just take 3 2/10. Divide by 100. And my decimal hop, what do I do here? Hop it twice. What am I going to fill in with here? So my answer is 32 thousandths of a meter. Yeah, I did. You have to push pause when you pause
They
it.
have to put in
Okay, so now this one says put in order from least to greatest. What's the best way to do that? Put them on your place value chart. So the first one is 83 hundredths. Okay, once you have them written on your place value chart, double check them with mine. The way this day's going, I could have made a mistake. Okay, do I need to fill in with anything?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to put them in a different color because I don't want, when I write it on the line, I don't want to put the 0 there.
Dwayne.
Yes. Okay, so what's the smallest number?
647,000.
Okay, so we'll put that on the first line. 647 thousandths. And I'm going to cross that off. Okay, the next one. Somebody besides Thomas.
1,700.
Well, actually,
830,000.
830 thousandths, but how do we need to write it?
0.83.
So how do I say that number?
8,300.
Good. So cross that one off. I'm hearing too much tapping of pencils and markers. Okay, what comes next?
1 and
7
7 tenths.
tenths.
Next one is 2 and 165,000.
Okay. So now we will use some of these numbers to answer the rest of the questions on the page. The first one says, write the smallest total rainfall in word form and expanded form. What's the smallest total rainfall?
647,000.
Go ahead and draw an arrow there. That way, when you study tonight, you can notice, oh yeah, if I got the smallest one right, that's what I put over here. Now, how do you say that number? Yosin, say it for me.
643,700.
Okay, 647 thousandths. That's what you write.
Is this for a big grade?
This is the review.
I know, but it's the test for a big grade.
It's just going to tell me if you're going to probably be successful in the lessons to come. Or if there's something that I'm going to have to go back and teach again. Now, starting next week, so on this one, I would like for you to put 3 lines underneath the 6. Why?
Because you need it to be capitalized.
It needs to be capitalized, okay? And that might remind you when you're studying, oh yeah, I need to capitalize the first letter, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to expect you to be able to spell 47 and the number 6 and everything else you can find in the room, either on your place value chart or mine. Now, expanded form, I want to go ahead and look at the place value chart. 647 thousandths right here. What place value is a 6 in?
10.
So that's how I start this. 6 times 1/10. You could write it with decimals or fractions, but you don't have to do both. It's your choice. And then what place value is the 4 in?
The hundreds.
So 4 times 100. And what place value is the 7 in?
Thousands.
7 times 1,000. 1,000. Okay. Remember when that seemed difficult? Not very difficult now, is it? Okay, so take a look at the annual rainfall for New York City because we're going to need that amount for the other side. What is it?
2 and 165,000.
Okay, 2 and 165 thousandths. Just go ahead and write that up here. And I'm just going to put New York City to help myself remember, okay? Now the direction says round New York City's rainfall total to the nearest tenth. I think I'll highlight tenth. So I just simply write this on the chart, place value chart, and then decompose by sliding across and removing place values.
And then 21 is your answer.
Okay, and I'm going to label, just to make sure we understand which is the tenths place. So Thomas said 21 tenths is what I will put at the bottom of my number line. Is he right?
Yes.
Okay, so 21 tenths in unit form. And as a decimal, and how would I write 25 or 21 tenths? Well, where's the decimal in the original number?
Between the 2 and the 1.
So that's where I put it on the number line. Okay, there's too much moving around going on. Did you write that in standard form and unit form? And is it a good idea to circle the tenths place here?
Good.
Yeah, not a bad idea. What comes after 21?
22.
So is the decimal still after the first two? It is. Now here's a little note I want you to write to yourself. I hear too much. I don't know who it is, but it needs to stop. I want you to write midpoint, because we're going to write ourselves a little note. And then I want you to write 5 and draw a line to where we would put the 5. So I'm going to put the 5 at the end of the bottom number on the place value, or on the number line. So 2 and 15 hundredths is the midpoint. Now, how many place values in the digit, in the number I'm rounding? All the way up to the thousandths, right? So I need to make sure my midpoint is carried out to the thousandths. Okay, Morgan, 2 and 165 thousandths. Is it above or below the midpoint? Above. How much above? You guys know?
15.
15 what?
Tenths. Wait, thousands.
Thousandths. Very good. All right, you guys combined all your thinking and got the answer. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says, imagine New York City's rainfall is the same every year. So how much was it, Michael? 2 and what? You wrote it at the top of your paper. Just read what you wrote. What?
165.
Very good. 2 and 165 thousandths. And stop making those noises. And how much would fall in 100 years?
265.
Well, how'd you get that answer?
Decimal hop.
So you did times 100 and then you did the decimal hop? Good thinking. I'm multiplying by 100 because it's asking for how much rainfall in 100 years. Write this problem down. And then Thomas said, hop the decimal. You know how sometimes I make my second decimal fatter than my,
Yeah.
to help me remember, okay? So he says 216 and 5/10. Is he right?
Yes.
Yeah, he is. One more problem. It says, write an equation using an exponent that would express the 100-year rainfall total. Now this right here is just a hint. Don't write anything here. But here's what you're going to write. Something times 10 to the
Third.
what?
Second.
Second equals something. So I'll just take my numbers from above. 10 to the second equals 216 and 5/10 meters. That's a lot of rain, but that's 100 years. That's a lot of years.
That's not that much for a lot of years.
Okay. So all you have to do, boys and girls, is look over this, study this a little bit tonight, and I think you'll be fine on the test.